When you come across toxic players in a game, do you just want to tell them to
stop it? Get some help.
And when you do, they just don't. Yeah, you're not the only one. The toxic gaming community. Let's talk about it. I don't know about you, but I've been playing multiplayer online games since I was a young kid. And during that time, it was Transfer Mice, Mabinogi, Wonderland Online, Wizard 101. Don't forget Club Penguin. Stick Figure Battle Arena. I mean, the list is absolutely exhaustive. Multiplayer online games have been around for quite some time now. Most common types I can think of are massively multiplayer online role-playing games. You have your first-person shooter, real-time strategy, multiplayer online battle arena, and most recent is the battle royale survival genre. Just to name a few common recent ones for you, we got World of Warcraft, League, Overwatch, Valorant, and Fortnite. To me, the beauty of multiplayer online gaming is that you can interact with other people and be strategic with each other while playing a game in a civilized way, which is not always the case because people want to harass or verbally abuse other people. And this is why I want to have this conversation here right now. Because it's now gotten to the point that people mute their mic while playing a multiplayer online game with a group. How can we be strategic? How can we help each other out? Is it because the world is becoming more antisocial? Or is it because people have dealt with verbal abuse in the past? And now, as a result, we can't talk to each other like human beings. Let's discuss the in-group and out-group type of mentality rooted in the gaming community. Because it's there whether we'd like to admit it or not. Just look at the stigmas against casual gamers who don't play as often enough or don't play competitively. Casual gamers would be considered the out-group, most notably the people who are excluded. Core gamers, however, have a wider interest than casual gamers and much more dedication, and some tend to view themselves as real gamers. Some. Core gamers would be considered the in-group, the people who share an identity or association with gaming. I personally never understood trying to gatekeep anything, but most importantly, who is in fact a real gamer or not. And honestly, I'm not much for labels, and these terms are absolutely subjective, but I find that it's super important to make these distinctions here. Multiplayer online games are relevant when discussing how players feel when they're interacting with other players on the platform. You may or may not be surprised to know that gamers have reported that the most toxic game genres are shooters by a whopping 61%. Next would be battle royales by 35%. And last is fighting games by 21%. I guess this makes sense. But why? Why the heck do people experience hate when it comes to those genres? Well, the inclination toward toxicity only increases when the stakes are higher in the form of increased playing time and in competitiveness. To play devil's advocate here, I guess I can definitely understand if a game is higher in stakes and longer in duration, because in my experience while running hard-level dungeons in multiplayer online games, there was certain expectations that you didn't want other people to constantly die, because the goal was to get to the final boss. Or, of course, in games, people were able to look at my stats or when I joined a game. They might have even asked what my stats were to have a conversation and then requested a duel, because they wanted to see if they could beat me. There was always a level of judgment circulating around because when you put so much time into a game, you expect to become a better player. But that can easily turn into a toxic mindset if we let it. It's important to discuss the ranking system because it plays a big factor that may serve to build up our ego. A ranking system just increases competitiveness within the game and allows the player to feel a sense of pride from accomplishing something. Dominance hierarchies can be formed within a game, especially those who are highly ranked players. I think back to the term guilds when playing games, which essentially are social organizations that can encompass many different things depending on the type of guild, but may involve those who are highly skilled. So the players have a sense of pride knowing they can run hard dungeons together, Or maybe someone is boasting about their stats with their association to a guild because it might be better than the average player. Basically, ranks are notorious as a symbol of status and can be used in many forms to express one's status. In 2021, women accounted for 45% of gamers in the United States, relative to 55% who identified as men. These statistics are counterintuitive because males still appear to dominate gaming by a 10% difference, and that to me is a big difference. Misogyny is nothing new in the gaming community, stemming from inappropriate behavior towards girls and women who play online games. However, the severe problem at the root tends to be caused by young male players involved, as research might suggest, who participate in toxic behavior, such as flaming, and might see their actions in a less serious light, or might even believe it's normal to treat women who play games in that way. And not only that, it does not help that up to 94% of young male players play online video games, and many who are tone deaf to the implications of their toxic behavior towards girls, women, and even their own biological sex. Let's face it, in a general sense, males dominate and maintain the gaming hierarchy. I mean, just look at the top Twitch streamers and their follower base. It definitely surpasses that of women. This male-dominated hierarchy continues to perpetuate stereotypical masculine norms embedded within the gaming community. Interesting enough, there's a continual idea that games have predominantly been a space that essentially feels like it belongs to those who are male, while those who do not fit the perception of someone who plays video games are completely casted out, which leads to a toxic gaming culture that is cultivated. I mean, toxic enough that it essentially pushes people away from a game or does not allow for proper socialization through a strategic game. But okay, this should make sense in the norm of society, right? From childhood, most of us learn to behave in specific gendered ways, which is socially constructed. That of itself does not make it right, of course, but it has to start somewhere. It doesn't help that from the very beginning, companies purposely marketed video games targeted toward boys and men.
On me?
Excuse me.
My heart is
You are so totally whipped. I'm Brad. Let's ride a bicycle bill for two. Then we can go to the potpourri store and then go buy sheets. Would you rather be at home shooting a bazooka or watching a chick flick? Chick flick, bazooka. Chick flick, bazooka.
Let me in, Brad.
Who's that?
Let me in. Brad.
I don't know.
Brad.
Okay, so that was a commercial in which the boyfriend locks his girlfriend in a closet at the very end while sitting next to Lara Croft, who's essentially a fictional character and the main protagonist for the video game Tomb Raider, who asks, "Who is that?" I mean,
What the hell is even that?
it's not some new idea that women suddenly liked video games. They were always there to begin with, but the marketing was only targeting specific demographics, which almost always excluded women. This proves that the toxic gaming community stems from many different issues intertwining. I'm more so focused on the misogyny because, like many women, I've experienced it. I've been told while playing a multiplayer online game that I must not be a woman if I play that good. I mean, these comments can be so bizarre. Did you think I stopped dragging the way games were marketed? Nah. Don't get me started with the games, and many alike, but ones that I have personally played in which they purposefully made some of the women appear hypersexualized. We are talking the hyper-sexualized non-playing characters, or actual playing characters, are used as a marketing tactic towards male players. A study found that females who played more sexualized characters experienced a decrease in self-efficacy. Those females rated the sexualized characters to be less physically able than the non-sexualized characters. Those participants who rated the sexualized female characters as less physically able figured that female characters in video games appealed to men and often included potentially degrading qualities. It's because sex sells, right? Sexually objectifying and denigrating girls has been a common theme for a very, very, very long time. I personally remember playing a massively multiplayer online role-playing game called Babanogi, and the main non-playing character was Nao or Now, a mysterious deity and essentially the soul stream guider of the players who visited her. And oh boy, her animation is something else.
Oh, hi. Wait a minute.
Do I really gotta say it? I wanted to discuss the psychology of why this toxic behavior exists in the first place, because like all things, they must stem from somewhere. First, let's discuss the theory of planned behavior, which means an individual has an intention to engage in toxic behavior based on the context of the situation. What this really says is that people will behave more negatively toward others if it's accepted in a group norm, and will continue to do so if there are no consequences for their toxic actions. Next is the online disinhibition effect. The main idea is that when you're interacting with other people on the internet, you're self-aware that other people can't see you or know who you are. And this engages some people to feel so inclined to spread toxic negativity to others online. Or, as I would like to call them, the trolls of the net. I would rather play with people I actually know or have my microphone muted than be in a situation at the offset chance I might be in the presence of toxic behavior, which would then completely make a fun game not so fun. I'm going to be blunt here when I say that I don't believe the toxic gaming community will change anytime soon, because it's so rooted in negative, cruel, and often behavior that can't realistically be regulated due to how maintained it is within gender normatives and continues to fuel the fire once again. Also, this is the internet, right? People can be cruel. When I see offensive memes like this because fans, and let's just say it, males, were against the inclusion of females in the NBA game, it just irks the hell out of me. Do people know how they sound when they make sexist comments and jokes that make fun of women and the WNBA players? It's a game. You don't have to play with the WNBA players if you don't want to. But it's just straight up sexism when you're saying, why are they here? Why are females in the game? I can't stand the thought and the mentality and the argument from the fans that were against WNBA players in the game 2K20 because they wanted to preserve realism.
Okay. Whatever that means.
Why do we still have to have these discussions? I personally feel it's important to continue to acknowledge how overbearing it is for players. Like myself, who at times have been in a space where all I wanted to do was mind my business and play a game we all enjoy, but I speak strongly about the misogynistic side of gaming because it's something that is prevalent, still prevalent. Also, definitely not trying to be tone deaf here. I am well aware that not all people act in this manner. As mentioned before, it's just pretty staggering how the toxic gaming community is far rooted in much more than the players who choose to act toxic themselves. At the end of the day, I'm not trying to be a hypocrite because as a woman, I will still play these multiplayer online games that offer hyper-sexualized characters to use in the game. But just looking back in time, it really makes you think about the intention behind these characters we see today. On an important side note though, it's nice to know that more women are getting into game development, and it's pretty freaking awesome to see fascinating games being made by women and actually appreciated. I'll leave it at that note, but thanks for watching. Until next time, see ya.